When asked the question, what is that one underrated leadership skill that is critical to the leader's success? Richard Branson said, it is the ability of a leader to delegate and to let go. Delegation is something that requires constant work, and that's why it's such an important skill in a successful leader's toolkit. I have myself worked on the skill of delegation, where I have dealt with the psychological excuses, the blames, the blocks of not delegating properly, and hence blaming the person who I've delegated to for not achieving the results that I wanted. Delegation brings in us some of the very interesting human qualities, such as ego, loss of control, the ability to feel responsible for the results that you're achieving, and in some sense, a guilt where you feel guilty about asking another person to do the work that you yourself is not doing. However, unless you hone yourself to be a good delegator, you are not going to move up the organization ladder. Unless you prepare those who work with you to do the tasks that you do, you will not be free to move ahead. Highly successful leaders relegate themselves to doing routine tasks because they're not able to delegate. Where they should be spending time on strategic decisions, on influencing, on nurturing, on motivating, they are absorbing themselves in regular tasks which easily another person from the team could be doing and freeing up their time. An average person works at only 50% of productivity. So when you delegate, you are also enhancing their productivity by enriching and by adding new tasks, which is going to be exciting to them. So when I work with leaders, one of the key blocks that they have for delegating is that they tell me, Dia, I have delegated in the past and it hasn't worked. I haven't got the results that I've wanted. The bad news that I'm here to give you is that 90% of those times, it is you who is to be blamed because you haven't delegated in the right manner. It is not the person who was supposed to do the tasks. So what are some of the critical things that you really have to do to be a good delegator? Firstly, find time. We all struggle with managing time and we think, let me do this myself. It's going to be faster. It's going to be easier than it's going to be teaching another person. This is the biggest mistake and the biggest block of delegating. You have to find time to be able to identify what are the tasks that you can delegate, identify the right people and train them. Because the return that you get in the long run is compounded and it really frees up a lot of your time to focus on the tasks that really matter to you. The second important mistake is, please do not delegate the process. Just delegate the outcome that you expect. Let that individual blossom. You can give them a guideline, but let that individual really think through and decide how to achieve the outcome. Because when you start delegating a process, it becomes micromanaging and the individual doesn't feel like enacting on the task. I know many successful leaders have certain quirks they hold absolutely dearly. They could be things like you have to use a blue pen, or the information has to be stored in a certain manner, or the cells have to be aligned to the left. So if you have something which is non-negotiable, let that person know that this is really important to you and that person can keep that in mind. The third thing is be patient. Yes, it is going to take time more than what you would have done for yourself, and there are going to be mistakes. But unless you're patient and unless you have a tolerance for mistakes, that person will not build the skills and confidence to be able to run the show with your minimal intervention. The fourth thing is to define the check-in and the deadline very clearly. So you should not ideally just wait for an end moment and then be surprised. You should have regular check-ins, and the person that you're delegating to must know what those check-in milestones are and when is the expected deadline. And the fifth and the most important, I think, is to give credit to the person once the task is done. I have dealt with a number of cases myself where people have mentioned that I have done this work for my manager, but I've not got the credit for it, so I don't feel motivated doing this a second time. Yes, they really will flourish if you give them the credit, especially in a public forum, for the task that they have achieved. It's really going to serve them to build their confidence as well as motivation. So remember, delegation is absolutely key for you to grow as a leader, to manage your time strategically, intentionally, and focus on things that are really important. And it also offers the added benefits of helping your team step up their game and reach their potential.